You
Hold
want to
on.
run?
We
I
are
think one of
live here for Prep Huddle Live. Sorry, Tony, cut you off there. We were talking about the show, and this is kind of a new format we're using here this morning. And this is going to be pretty casual, as you can tell. Saturday morning, we're not in the studio, but wanted to provide you guys some recap and our thoughts on the playoffs from the last 2 days. And we've got a bunch of posts and going to continue to post things on strivsports.com. You guys can all check that out. And this is going to be recorded as well. So we're excited for this little show here. And we're going to be joined by Coach Jim Clarkson of Clarkson Leigh. Later on the show, they got their first playoff win, and they'll actually be playing hosting Heartland on Wednesday. So, Tony, I'll let you kind of take it from here and kind of go through your thoughts the last 2 days, and I know you just posted up the rewind as well, and kind of some of your thoughts on
yeah.
playoffs.
Sure. Well, thanks, Taylor. Yeah, it's obviously the best time of year, is what they say on the old Christmas song. But the playoffs are really fun. So you and I obviously were in Henderson on Thursday and watched them get their first playoff win as an 8-man school. So that was kind of exciting. We will kind of do some split coverage on Wednesday of some 8-man games, and then last night you were at Sutton. End of just a wonderful season for the Mustangs as they ran into Hartington Cedar Catholic, who, really they lost 2 games to 2 of the top 3 teams in Class C2, and they're a good team in their own right and play really good defense. And was kind of reading up in the Hastings Tribune this morning, Nick Blasnick's article, that the Hartington Cedar Catholic really just kind of controlled the line there. So, and then I actually was kind of I didn't go to a Striv game. I did a little trick-or-treating and then went over to Memorial Stadium in Grand Island and watched the Islanders. And they really controlled the game against Columbus, beat them 40-0. And I'm hopeful, Taylor, that we'll get to see the Islanders next Friday as Striv School Millard West comes out for a quarterfinal game that should be a really good football game, I think. So I was just going to kind of dive in real quick and run over what happened in Class A last night. First off, we can just run through that bracket really quickly. Kind of interesting. The top 5 seeds all won, but after that, it was all the lower seeds. So Kearney beat Norfolk in the 8-9 game as the 9 seed. So Kearney will host Omaha North next week in a quarterfinal game. The 4 and 5, Grand Island and Millard West, as I just said, both won. So that game will be in Grand Island at Memorial Stadium. Likely the back end of a doubleheader. It sounds like the Grand Island Central Catholic will use Senior High Stadium on Friday afternoon to host Ashland Greenwood. We'll probably hear confirmation on that later today. Creighton Prep beats Omaha Burke as the 3 seed, but Omaha Central, the 11 seed, upsets Lincoln East. I don't know if that's necessarily an upset. Both teams kind of in that 7-9 ranking, depending on what paper you looked at. That was a really great game. It was 7-7, then it was 14-14, and Omaha Central, again, a Striv school, they get a late score from Trey Sanders, Trey Sanders, as they win 21-14, and they'll now host Omaha Creighton Prep in a quarterfinal game next Friday. And then the last quarterfinal will be Millard North, who put up 62 points yesterday against Bellevue East, and they'll host Papillion La Vista South, who beat Bellevue West 42-21. So that kind of wraps up Class A. Both our Class A teams still alive, so that's exciting. I don't know if you want to add anything to those Class A schools there, Taylor. I think we're hopeful that we might be able to be in touch with both of those schools sometime this week and maybe do some fun stuff on the website.
Yeah, and we hopefully we'll be able to, with Millard West coming out to Grand Island, get some see those guys live in action. I spent some time at the scrimmage of Central, so kind of saw them, but I haven't seen Millard West, so looking forward to that. On Friday. And have they said the game time for that? Probably not yet. Probably 7. I
would assume all those Class A games will be 7 o'clock starts. there'll be no, Millard had a doubleheader yesterday with hosting 2 games, but with Millard West out in Grand Island, all those games I'm going to assume will be 7 o'clock starts based on who's hosting. So you'll have Kearney hosting. That game will be at UNK with Omaha North. Grand Island will host. Central will host Prep. And, the 2 games on the bottom half of the bracket are both in Omaha, so likely those games will all be at 7 o'clock is my guess there. So
Okay.
you want to move on to Class B. It was kind of a heartbreaking end to some seasons last night in Class B. We'll just quickly run through those. Omaha Scott, they controlled Waverly, shutting them out 35-0. Seward had beat Sydney 24-14 in the 8-9 game. Then there's a great doubleheader at Elkhorn where the 4 o'clock game was Elkhorn and York, and that thing was back and forth. York played basically the whole game without their quarterback, who was injured early in the first quarter, and the Dukes got a touchdown from Jonah Odie, who finished with over 100 yards rushing to tie the game at 24-24 with about, I believe it was about 4.5 minutes left to go in that game. And then Elkhorn got the ball, went right down the field, and they got a field goal with no time left to beat York 27-24. So that field goal was the second of the game. For Elkhorn kicker. I'm trying to find his name here, where he's at. Where did that go? Kyle Hill. So he kicked a 26-yarder, and then he kicks a 20-yarder as Elkhorn scored. They went that last drive, started at their own 25, and I believe it was 13 run plays. I don't think they threw a pass in that last drive. And then in the nightcap, you had Beatrice, who was preseason number 2, but kind of struggled through a 6-3 regular season. They beat Elkhorn South 42-35. They scored with about 4 minutes left, and then got, I think, their only stop of the second half after that score to hold off the Storm, who had beat top-ranked top-ranked Gretna last week. So that Beatrice game was a rematch that Elkhorn South won in Beatrice in a first-round game last year, 38-37. So those 2 schools are quietly putting together kind of a neat little playoff rivalry. So in the nightcap, you had Beatrice. Beatrice will actually host Scotts Bluff on Friday, likely probably an afternoon game, though I'm not sure. That'll be a long trip, obviously, for Scotts Bluff. And then the bottom of the bracket, McCook will travel to Blair. That'll be an interesting game. Blair lost their first 3 games of the year to Gretna and to, Gretna, Elkhorn, and Seward, who are all still alive in the playoffs, and they've since won 7 straight with a win against Omaha Scott. So Blair and McCook will be a pretty good game on Friday. McCook, obviously, they're a Striv school, and that game will be in Blair. And then the other quarterfinal game in B will be Elkhorn traveling to Gretna. That should be a really good football game, I suspect there. So Class B was not too kind to the Strive schools. Again, there you had Blair beating Crete, York losing to Elkhorn, and Scotts Bluff beat Aurora 41-33. And we still do have McCook alive, obviously, in Class B. So some really great games, some close games, some one-possession games in Class B. And, as we kind of talked about in the rewind, just because your season's over doesn't mean it was a disappointing. Really good football in the playoffs, and should be some more good games next week. So it'll be exciting to watch those as well as we move on in the playoffs here.
Yeah, and if you guys are watching the recording, you can go on the Rewinds up that Tony put with some cool tweets from some of the players and coaches from last night, which is kind of fun. And then he also did a rewind the night before for all the Class D games, which we'll get into here in a little bit. Just want to take a moment here. We got a ton of articles again on StrivSports.com. A football family that Tony wrote on the Huberts is on there. We've got some interviews with Central City coaches. Our rapid reaction, our first instant analysis from Tony after the Heartland game on Thursday night, and you can check all that out on StrivSports.com. Also want to give a quick shout out to Frontrunner Fab, one of our sponsors. One of our sponsors up in Fullerton. If you need new seating or anything like that for your stadium, give those guys a call. You can find their ad on our site, and also Cornerstone Bank. So, Tony, let's go ahead and dive into Class C, and then Coach Clarkson's below here. You guys can see him, and we'll get to his interview here in a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, Class. I'll run through C1 really quick if we get the chance here. If I can find the bracket. So, Ashland Greenwood beat Central City against Striv School. That was a game just following on Twitter that seemed to have multiple turnovers from both teams, but that's a 48-14 win for Ashland Greenwood. It ends Central City's 6-4 season. They had not played a round of 16 playoff game since 1989, so quite the accomplishment for those guys. And I know a lot of juniors on that team, especially at the skill positions, coming back next year for the Bison. So they finish a great season. A heartbreaker for our Striv School in Wilbur. As they lost to Grand Island Central Catholic in overtime. Grand Island Central Catholic scores on a Brett Weens touchdown reception with 8 seconds left. That ties the game at 28. In overtime, Wilbur Claytonia scores, and Central Catholic's John Pfeiffer blocks the point after kick to set up a 34-28 game. And then in the overtime, Central Catholic has Brady Brokaw connect with Wyoming football recruit Johanna Gaffon. He had 8 receptions for 137 yards from his tight end position. So Central Catholic beats Wilbur Claytonia 35-34. They connect on the extra point, and that was a game where Central Catholic, believe it or not, they scored 35 points and they fumbled it 6 times. They lost 6 fumbles in that game. So it was feast or famine for the Crusaders, and they'll get Ashland Greenwood next week again in a game that'll be in Grand Island. We expect that'll be an afternoon game at Grand Island Senior High's Memorial Field there. Out west for the other kind of little 4-team pod there, we had Shadron beat Ogallala 6-0, and then Cozad really took it to Fort Calhoun. Connor Young, you'll read about. We're still kind of updating some games on the rewind. We had a little glitch on our page there. But Connor Young had over 300 all-purpose yards in the first half, and so Cozad beats Fort Calhoun 41-13. He had touchdown runs of 52 and 67 yards, 2 touchdown passes to Sam Cole, and he also returned a punt 71 yards. Again, that was all in the first half as the Haymakers cruise there. And, with a win by Cozad and a win by Ashland Greenwood, that'd set up a semifinal. Then obviously that'd be a rematch of last year's state championship game. So if we go down to the bottom half of the bracket there, Columbus SCOTUS handles Pierce 35-7. Kearney Catholic gets a 27-26 overtime win over Boys Town. That one was crazy as well. You guys can read about that on any prep zone if you want. But Kearney Catholic, with a 13-12 lead, stops Boys Town with about 3 minutes left, and Boys Town opts to let them score. They go up 20-12, and then Boys Town runs the length of the field with a last-second drive. They get the 2-point conversion to tie it at 20, and then it goes into overtime where Kearney Catholic's extra point is the difference there as well. So the kicking game, as you can see, we've discussed it about 3 times already. Was huge in some games last night. And then Norfolk Catholic and Boone Central Newman Grove both roll to first-round wins. The Knights 35-6 over Fall City, and Boone Central Newman Grove 48-7 over Milford Dorchester. And that sets up a rematch in Albion just like we had 2 weeks ago. Number 1, Boone Central. Number 3, Norfolk Catholic doesn't feel like it should be a quarterfinal game, but it is based on the playoff points. And that was a game that it was a packed house there. And I think, Taylor, what did we end up? We had about 2,000 people watching it on the website as well. So that'll be a lot of interest in that quarterfinal game in C1.
Yeah, 2,000 watched it on Striv. I think the superintendent tweeted out, or they tweeted out that 3,000 were there. Wow. So great atmosphere out there. That was fun to watch those numbers come in for sure. So.
Yeah, and quickly in C2, I'll just run through that one really quick because we like to get to D1 here. So Battle Creek, Archbishop Bergen are winners. They'll play each other in the quarterfinals, and Aquinas and Hastings St. Cecilia will play each other. And then the winners of those 2 games will play in the semis. And then the bottom half of the bracket, Freeman beats Stanton 26-21. And then I don't know if I'd even call it an upset, but the game we thought would be almost a game that might determine the finalist in the bottom half of the C2 bracket, Hartington Cedar Catholic at 7-2. Again, their losses, I believe, Battle Creek and Aquinas. They beat Sutton, who was undefeated, 27-14 in Sutton last night. I know you were there, Taylor. And then Oakland Craig beats Strive School Fillmore Central, who won their district championship in the 8th week of the regular season, and North Platte St. Pat's beats Strive School Southern Valley 30-12. So Oakland Craig will travel to North Platte St. Pat's, and Freeman will travel to Hartington to play Cedar Catholic in another quarterfinal game there. So C2 will be a bracket that does not have any Strive schools left there, and it looks like, what I'm doing the math here, we have 3 public schools and 5 parochial schools left in the 8-team C2 bracket. So that's where we stand on C2 heading into the quarterfinals.
All right. Let's go ahead and jump in here since we've got Coach Clarkson down below. Coach, I'm going to unmute you here, and I don't know if you're still watching the show or not, but we were getting some feedback, but it sounds like it's good now. Thanks for short notice. We messaged you on Twitter, I think, yesterday, and appreciate you taking the time here to join us. I know you've been following us in Prep Huddle Live. We appreciate the support up there, and excited to have you on the show here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sorry about that. I think I was watching your show on the YouTube, I think, so that's where your feedback.
That's okay.
We appreciate it. Coach, thanks for being with us. We'll talk about Thursday night. You guys 30 chalk games in the 8-man playoffs, and 2 road teams win, and one of them is your bunch. Talk about your game with Hartington Newcastle, 34-26 game, and obviously you guys are happy with getting that first playoff win as a co-op, and then also just talk about how your guys played.
It was a pretty exciting game. We went up there, and Hartington's had a pretty good year. I know they're a little bit banged up, but our boys came out. We played pretty hard, and it was a great atmosphere. We had a lot of fans travel up there to Hartington, and they have a real nice facility. They're a class bunch up there, and they took care of us pretty well. But our fans were pretty fired up to be there, and it was a back and forth game, and it came down to we had to get an interception down there inside the 5 to seal the victory. But we were able to get it, and our kids were very excited. And as far as us being Clarkson Leigh, a combined program, that's our first program playoff victory. So our kids are pretty excited, and we're just happy to have another week of football ahead of us. So.
Excellent. Yeah, you hear every year how 32 teams is too many sometimes, and you guys talk about the character of your kids. We've had Fullerton coach Ryan Houghton on a couple times. Well, just to give fans an idea of the district you played in, you didn't win a district game. And you had Fullerton in there, Howells Dodge, they're both still playing, and the other 2 teams in your district, Nebraska Christian and Humphrey Lindsay Holy Family, I believe, are over the number. They couldn't even qualify for the D1 playoffs. So you played in arguably probably the toughest district of the state, and just talk about the character of your kids and how they were able to kind of persevere through that. You had to be happy with how they were able to do that, and then obviously to show great character to get a playoff win. Talk about kind of that last half of the season, how difficult it was, some of the teams you were playing.
Well, first of all, that was a tough reality check there. I didn't realize that we didn't win a district game. That kind of hurts. I never thought about that, but you know what? It is a tough district, and but we're kind of used to that. You know, before we even consolidated or co-opt here with Leigh, you know, this area has always been kind of a hotbed for eight-man football. So year in and year out, we've had some tough schedules. You know, this is the one year we were 4-4 and made the semifinals once we got out of our area a little bit. So we're kind of used to that tough teams, and that helps kind of build us. So our kids have a lot of confidence, no matter who we play. Sometimes, even if we get out of our district play, a lot of times our guys are pretty confident. You know, going up to Hartington, we're pretty confident bunch. So that just goes to just kind of just the area of football. You know how playing Howes or Howes Dodge every year, or Humphrey St. Francis or Humphrey Lindsay, or all the teams in our area up here. It kind of conditions your kids to be ready to take on any comers from any other part of the state. So that part of it, our kids are pretty resilient, and they have a lot of confidence in their ability, and we're able to play pretty physical football because of it.
Talk about what you've seen on Heartland, if anything. Obviously, they're a team that Taylor. I saw them for the first time on Thursday. A team that I almost say they're almost a perfect eight-man team. It looks they got about four really kind of big kids that paved the way, and then they've got some speed in behind it. So, what have you seen on them, and what do you expect the keys to controlling their offense will be on Wednesday night?
Man, I tell you what, they look pretty darn good. Yeah, you're right. They're pretty big and really fast. Actually, I was just talking to Coach Artisano down there at BDS, and he was telling me they performed pretty well in track too. So it's going to be quite the challenge. They're very big and fast, and they look like they have a nice team, a very nice team, as you said, a very good-looking eight-man football team. You know, it's going to take our best effort to have a chance to play with them a little bit. You know, I know one of their closer games, I guess, was against Humphrey Lindsay. So hopefully we can, again, when they come up in this area, hopefully our kids can kind of match that. Our kids don't know Heartland from anybody, I guess, and so hopefully we can use that to our advantage a little bit. And I don't know if they realize how good Heartland really is, but we'll give it our best effort. You know, we're excited to have a home football game up here in Leigh, and I tell you what, our kids will be ready to play. And I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but we're going to give them our best shot, and we'll be ready to go.
Coach, introduce us to your team a little bit. I know you've got Chris Konachek, who's kind of a little do-everything guy for you in the backfield there, and we watched you play in Fullerton, and it seemed like you didn't mind getting in the spread or getting into tight formations. You do a lot of different things offensively, and so just to introduce us to your guys and what maybe people can expect from your team on Wednesday night.
Yeah, and actually this year we kind of switched our offense up a little bit, and actually I have Coach Bob McAvoy is now calling our offense, and he used to be over at Humphrey. So we kind of switched some responsibilities on our coaching staff, and he's done a great job of kind of moving Chris around a little bit and doing some different things with him. He's a very athletic kid. You know, he had two All-State brothers. You know, he's had some injury problems throughout high school, but he has some nice. He wants to be a college receiver is what he wants to do. So we like to move him around a little bit and try and get him the ball in certain areas. So he's done a nice job, and Coach McAvoy and the rest of the offense have done a nice job of kind of moving people around. We got our quarterback Kobe Propotsky is really starting to understand things a lot better. You know, this is his first year as a starter, and he's last couple games we think he's really kind of progressed like we hoped he would. So, you know, we try and be a power team when we can. It doesn't always work out so well. Sometimes we try and spread some people out a little bit too. So we've been trying to mix it up. I said we got some good athletes. We have some good speed. I don't know if it's quite as good as Heartland's, but we do have some speed and some athletes on our team, and we'll try and get some matchups that hopefully favor us, and we're able to move the ball around a little bit. We have some very good receivers on our team, so maybe we can loosen them up a little bit and then run the ball underneath. I don't know. We'll try whatever we can to try and stay in that game and hopefully get away with the win.
I apologize for not having checked the bracket yet. Have you guys set a kickoff time for that game on Wednesday?
Yeah, 6 o'clock.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, that'll be a 6 o'clock game. I know Taylor will be there, and we hope to get some video of that game that we'll be able to post on the website. And we appreciate you being on the show with us, and congratulations on that first playoff win, and good luck to your guys on Wednesday night.
Well, I appreciate it. I think it's a cool little show you guys have here. I've been watching the last couple of weeks, and appreciate the coverage. And thank you, and have a great day.
Okay,
right,
thanks, Coach. I don't know, Taylor, if you want to take a break possibly, and then we can
so
finish.
I've got we're doing the show a little bit different this week, but I got queued up our Cornerstone Bank ad. We'll take a quick break and see if that plays, and be right back. All right, I think we're back. I don't know if that played or not. We'll find out. But want to thank Cornerstone Bank. Those guys are awesome and allow us to do what we're doing here every week. And want to thank those guys in Front Runner Fab up in Fullerton again. Brian Dubas has been has been a great sponsor for us as well here through the kind of end of the football season, and we'll go into basketball as well. So. I think we need to finish up kind of scores on D1 and D2, and then we'll wrap things up, and everyone can have a great Saturday, bundle up to go to the Husker game this afternoon.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's run through quickly the full D1 bracket here. Again, the 8-man playoffs, they started with 32 on Thursday, so Wednesday will be the round of 16 games. So in the West bracket, Creighton is the top seed. They will actually travel to Neely. They'll play Neely Oakdale. They were the only other road winner in the 8-man playoffs. They beat Elgin Public Pope John 46-22. So Creighton will be at Neely in that game. Burwell will host Elm Creek. Elm Creek beat Arapahoe 67-22, and Burwell topped Perkins County, which is Grant, 52-20. Then the bottom half, man, this one gets me excited, Taylor. So you have Hemingford. They're the third seed. They've been number one all season. They lost to Exeter Milligan in the D1 final last year. They're just beating the tar out of everybody in the Panhandle. And then Shelton came up to play them in a playoff game, and it was 43-0 at the end of the first quarter. And Hemingford wins that one 71-14. They'll play Blue Hill, who is 6-3. They were a 55-29 winner over North Central. The Bobcats moved down from C2 last year. Actually, in the Omaha World Herald, they were preseason number 2. So this is a battle of preseason 1 versus preseason 2 in the round of 16. Blue Hill again lost their first 3 games of the year to Burning Davenport, Shickley, High Plains, and to Heartland, and they've since rattled off 6 straight. Won their district, which I believe included Elm Creek. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they beat Elm Creek late in the season. So that's a 1:30 Mountain game, so 2:30 Central. We'll try to find a webcast link of that one and get that one up on our website. That game will be in Hemingford. Then the other West quarterfinal game is Amherst at Fullerton. Amherst, the 7 seed, they were a 50-22 winner over Ainsley Litchfield. And again, Fullerton's dream season lives on. They're 9-0. They got a 72-30 win over Sutherland that they controlled from the get-go. I think it was 52-8 at the half, if I'm not mistaken. They got a few guys some rest. I know I saw that Garrett Sonderup only had 5 carries for, I believe, 99 yards. I think he scored twice in 5 carries. So they were able to get a little rest on there. And that sets up, Taylor, as I was mentioning, a Tuesday possible matchup of Fullerton and Hemingford that would be in Fullerton. That would be, just exciting to go see both of those teams play. So the West bracket there sets up fairly nicely for those teams, and then over in the East you'll have Friend, who was a winner over Striv School Cross County 62-8. You have Diller Odell was a 67-30 winner over Strive School High Plains. They will play in the quarterfinals. A good old-fashioned Northeast Nebraska, no, I don't know what you want to, East Central Nebraska game will be Guardian Angels, Central Catholic, and Howells Dodge in the quarterfinals there. That's a rematch of an earlier game this year that Guardian Angels won 48-34. This game will be in Howells. And then again, as we just talked to Coach Clarkson at Clarkson Leigh, they will host Heartland. Heartland beat Nebraska City Lords 74-6, and then the other quarterfinal game in the East bracket will be Bruning Davenport Shickley, and they will host Bloomfield, who was a 66-56 winner over Scribner Snyder. So Bruning Davenport Shickley beat Omaha Christian Academy 50-0. I know they were able to rest some kids too. I don't believe that Grant and Order, their quarterback, even played in that game. They were trying to rest him up, get him healthy. He's been a little banged up. So BDS, that game that they played on Thursday was in Bruning, so the game with Bloomfield will be in Shickley, and that'll be a 5 o'clock kick in Shickley. And again, as they're a Striv school as well, that could possibly set up them playing. They'd guarantee them, if they were to want to play a Striv school with the winner of the Clarkson Leigh Heartland game, also that would be on Tuesday. So if Heartland were to beat Clarkson Leigh, they would host in the next round. And if BDS were to win, they would either travel to Clarkson Leigh or they would travel to Henderson for a quarterfinal game there in Class B. So we are loaded with Creighton, Fullerton, Henderson, Bruning Davenport, Shickley, and Clarkson Leigh, 5 teams in Class D1 that are Striv schools. That it'll be really fun to follow those guys as we move forward in the playoffs here in Class D1.
Okay, and you want to just touch on D2, Exeter, Milligan, and Osceola and Meridian, or do you want to take a break, or did you just do that?
Nope, I can. We can go over all those. So every home team won in Class D2, which sets up some really interesting games. I think in the bracket quarterfinals or the round of 16. So again, Exeter Milligan's a Striv school. They advanced to 9-0. They beat Red Cloud 56-6. They will take on Chambers Wheeler Central, who was a 49-26 winner over Wynot, and that'll be a 5 o'clock game in Milligan. All of their home games are in Milligan. If we find some radio coverage on that one, I believe KUTT out of Fairbury was following them with webcast. We'll try to put that up on our website so you've got easy access to listen to the Timberwolves. Giltner and Humphrey St. Francis should be just a classic, I think. Humphrey St. Francis 9-0, Giltner 7-2. Giltner's 2 losses were to Exeter Milligan and to Bruning Davenport Shickley, who is obviously in the D1 playoff still. So 2 quality losses there. Humphrey St. Francis 8-0. Both teams scored 70 points in their openers. So I expect that game will probably get into the 50s at minimum, and the team that can turn the other team over probably have an advantage there. So Kennesaw will host Randolph in a game that will be in Kennesaw at 5 o'clock on Wednesday. Kennesaw beat Striv School Meridian, who finished their year at 4-5. They beat them 54-26 on Wednesday night. The other quarterfinal in the East bracket is a rematch of last year's D2 championship game. It features 7-2 Fall City Sacred Heart, who their losses were to Exeter Milligan and to, I believe, North Andrew, Missouri, who was an 8-man champion in Missouri last year. So 2 quality losses. Stewart, they ended Striv Schools Osceola's season at 5-4 with a 48-0 win. So Stewart 9-0, Fall City Sacred Heart 7-2 will be a D2 East quarterfinal game. And then down in the West, all the top seeds won. So Anselmo Myrno will host Paxton. Sandhills Thedford will host Elwood. A rarity in that one. Both of those teams had shutouts in the first round. So Elwood beat Loomis 56-0. Sandhills Thedford beat Hitchcock County 49-0. And then on the bottom half of that West bracket, you have Maxwell hosting Bertrand in a 6 o'clock game, and Oshkosh Garden County will host Brady in a 5 o'clock game. Garden County, the 2 seed, had the closest of the games there in that bracket. They beat Mullen who's always plays tough football there. They beat them 28-20 in the first round. That was a rematch of a regular season game as well. So D2 is set. We will follow Exeter Milligan as long as they are alive in their undefeated season in hopes to get a second straight state championship down in Fillmore County. So that kind of wraps up D2 as well, Taylor.
All right, that's a ton of scores, and I don't know, we're updating our scoreboard from last night's games. We kind of messed that up on strivsports.com, and Tony's going to be working on our second round game post. We got a lot of people that got on and looked at that first round, just of all the radio webcasts and times and things like that. So appreciate Tony taking the time to put all that together. I know it's very valuable for our viewers and readers. So, and I don't really have a whole lot else. That commercial did not play, so I'll play her maybe to end the show, and then maybe I'll play the playoff journey. I want to talk a little bit about that, unless you got anything to add, Tony.
I think, Taylor, it'd just be good to add at this point kind of the plans for November with what we have for the website. So
yeah.
Obviously, we'll cover our schools in the football playoffs as long as they're going. I'll let you touch on the playoff journey that we're doing with Heartland. You'll be there in Lee on Wednesday night. I will be up in Fullerton covering their game with Amherst, and we'll have some reaction there for the website Wednesday night, Thursday morning time frame. On Saturday morning, we'll have the state volleyball pairings will be announced. We'll be heavy into district volleyball play all this week, and we'll try to keep our readers updated on that as much as we can. So there'll be no show Wednesday, obviously, because we'll do the playoffs. So we'll do another Saturday show that'll kind of recap our games, and then also hopefully we'll be able to put out the volleyball pairings on that. And then I think the plan now is to do a show then on Wednesday, November 12th, that would recap quarterfinal games in 8-man football, preview all the semifinal games in all the classes, as well as state volleyball, leading us into state volleyball weekend. And then I think then we'd have another show on Saturday before the football playoff or the football finals that would preview any finals and then also kind of recap state volleyball here. So it'll be a fun, awesome, busy November here on StriveSports.com.
All right, and hopefully it's not as cold as it was last night, so we can continue to get some video.
You got to be tougher, Taylor. It's November.
I know. I wish my camera batteries would last longer. All right, so yeah, just a little bit about what we're doing. Came up with this idea. Tony kind of threw it out, and we kind of took it from there on a playoff journey and following some of the teams, and we picked Heartland since we're in Henderson. It was kind of the easiest, and I know those guys. I watched them lose 8 games in a row, and now they're undefeated this year, so we thought it was a good story to follow those guys through the playoffs. We've got some behind-the-scenes footage and some fun ideas for that we're going to be putting together. We put together a little promo video that I will show here, and we're going to try to get the kind of full version of the video, episode 1, if you will, to be aired on Tuesday before the game on Wednesday. So JC's working hard on that. So I'm going to pull a screen share here of that, and we'll share that, and it's on our YouTube page as well. So. Don't think you can hear that, but you guys can go to our YouTube channel. We want to try to get some more subscribers on that thing. Just type in Strive Sports, and that should pull up. We've got a ton of videos on there. We're cranking out some awesome content. Tony's writing up the questions for us, and it's been a lot of fun to travel around and just share the stories of high school sports for Striv Sports, and should be a fun playoffs, kind of following those guys and see how far they can go. So that's about all I got. Tony, any last thoughts?
Nope. Looking forward to Wednesday and diving into some volleyball stuff late next week as the district finals get going on, and we hope that we can have you guys join us next Saturday for some more recaps and some volleyball preview. So.
All right, the recording will be up here, and we'll get that on strivsports.com. Again, check out the rewind that Tony wrote for today and yesterday as well. And we'll keep you guys all up to date here as game times get announced for next week. Thanks, and have a great rest of your weekend, and go Huskers.